Okay, guys, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Rytis Vyšniauskas and Augustas Šiliauskas. Welcome on board, guys. What's up? What's new? What's good? What's bad?
The bad thing is the FIBA window, of course.
We're talking about FIBA window once again. 5 years. We're 5 years into this new calendar, and for one more time, we will discuss all the absurd situations we'll still have to go through with this competition and with this new format. It's going to be one of the main topics of this pod. We also have some EuroLeague action first, head coaching firing, highest paid EuroLeague players, and Victor Wembanyama in his first national team game, senior national team game here actually in Lithuania. Just before we start, a quick reminder to press subscribe button if you didn't yet, because from what we know, according to advanced stats, half of our listeners and viewers didn't subscribe our channel yet. So please do it as fast as possible. And of course, don't forget to press like button below this video, because it really helps us to grow. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from exciting things. The debut in general was exciting fact. I mean, Victor Wembanyama, probably the best prospect coming off Europe, best NBA prospect coming off Europe, making his French national team debut in Panevėžys in Lithuania, which is awesome. What would be your first impressions about this trip and about his arrival?
It was awesome. It was awesome, but it happened in the least exciting gym in Lithuania. Just from my point of view, you know, that cycling track that they have, velodrome, whatever it is called in English, but for me, it's just sucks the gravity, sucks the crowd out of the building, and it's like you're playing not against 5,000 people, but you're playing like against 500. But I guess it didn't really matter.
It was probably it was definitely the worst sellout crowd experience I've ever had. But I was not even surprised by at all, because usually, I mean, Panevėžys is my hometown. I should be proud of my team. I should kind of let's see. I should advocate them, but there's nothing to defend. The atmosphere over there is basically always just horrible. And I feel bad for the players, for everybody who has to play in that arena, because there's just too much space. This, circuit also ruins all the things. Fans are too far from the court. But at the same time, I have to say that we don't have any basketball support culture in Panevėžys. We had some successful years with football club. We have some ultras supporting football clubs, but basketball-wise, it was always very, very average atmosphere. And that game, unfortunately, Wembanyama's debut night was in an awful, awful crowd.
I don't think the crowd would have been any better in any other Lithuanian city according to the game. I mean,
that's true. National team experience is always different as well. And it also takes Serbia, for example, right? You've been in Serbia-Greece game, and it's different because they don't have organized supporters. We have some bunch of fans who travel to Europe.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the performance.
Yeah.
The
game is also...
I mean, the support in Serbia was still, lit. There was no organized support that you can see in Zvezda or Partizan games, but it was still an amazing crowd. But
our crowd will also get excited if the team is
not
winning.
Losing by 20.
The game was terrible from Lithuania's perspective, obviously, but people were more or less focused on Victor Wembanyama than the game itself. Although I love the fact that, once again, just as I saw him in the French league, he doesn't play for his numbers. He just does what needs to be done on the court to help his team get the win. And in the end, you see him with 20 points and 23 performance index rating. So he was really an impact from the very beginning. And I would say his impact was more felt on defense. His presence in the paint put so many doubts in Lithuanian players' heads. They were all the time doubting whether should I attack the paint or not, should I kick the ball out. Some of high arc shots that were not really
they were all short
shots. Yeah, they were short. They were barely hitting the rim. So he was adjusting our shots. He didn't block too many shots in this game, I believe. I don't think he even had one block.
Yeah, that's true.
But you should count how many shots were adjusted by his size and by his length. So I think that the Lithuanian players were kind of scared of an 18-year-old and his enormous qualities.
He's just bigger, by one head than everyone else. So it's just so hard. I can't imagine seeing
and the length
him.
of his arms. Again,
Exactly.
not only his size but also his wingspan, and at the same time he's very quick.
Just like the players told themselves that you kind of feel free, you kind of feel open, but at the same time you kind of feel him somewhere. He's like a ghost that's gonna block the shot. And like the head coach Kęstutis Kemzūra told that you can watch videos, you can watch his highlights on the internet, but when he's in front of you in the paint, that's a different game, and it really impacted Lithuanians' offense.
The warm-ups, he was joking with Andrew LBC, and it's funny to see LBC standing next to Victor.
There was a great caption from our social media team. They posted a picture of LBC and Wembanyama next to each other, and they wrote LBC standing next to the Eiffel Tower.
It kind of throws me back to that old school picture with Maxi Bogue standing next to Manute Ball. But I love the way he approaches every game. I can only imagine you're 18 years old. Already 2 years ago, when you were 16, you were projected number 1 draft pick for 2023. All the world is talking about you. The focus is on you. ESPN is following you everywhere you go. There are articles about you. You're already on the cover of Slam magazine.
LeBron is shaking your hand.
People in America are watching your games. And he's so calm, so chill. Like, I don't know if I would cope with all that pressure and everything that goes with the fame that you're already getting, and you didn't even step a foot on an NBA court yet. But he is really relaxed, and he's just going out there to play. Vincent Collet obviously has a good relationship with him, and all the other guys around him, from what I'm seeing, really enjoy playing with him. And I would like to single out Sylvain Francisco, a real baller, actually. We've seen him in the FIBA Champions League or playing for Manresa in Spain. But in this game, he was a pure baller, like Allen Iverson with the French national team jersey, and Lithuanians didn't have anybody to match him. So it's not only about Wembanyama, but just the fact that this French team is probably the best team in this FIBA window.
You could say that, I guess.
I guess with Wembanyama as an addition. So everything worked out fine for Wemby and for the team. And I think some Lithuanian fans that are not really into NBA or into this whole Wembanyama hype witnessed him and probably realized that this kid is something special.
I think that his calmness comes from hard work because I had this impression talking to Vincent Collet for almost 1 hour in Panevėžys, and I was a bit surprised how hyped the coach was about his player. I barely remember the coach who is always like pointing, saying that, "Oh, you will see how great he's gonna be. Okay, he's good already, but you'll see how great he will be in the nearest future." And it felt like he was hyping the player, but at the same time, he also mentioned some interesting things. For example, he said that we're talking about his great skills of his game already now, but in like a month or two, it might be a whole different conversation because Wembanyama is improving so fast. And he said that he's like a sponge. He improves basically by every practice. And although it may sound like a cliche, but there are already some examples. For example, in the beginning of the season, after first 3 games in the French league, he attempted only 7 free throws. And in the 4 last games in the French league, his average free throw shooting attempt was more than 8. And I remember that his career averages of free throws was like 70%, something below 70, and now he was shooting high volume. He was a high volume free throw shooter at 90%, and in the game against Lithuania, I think he was 7 of 7. And
he was actually sent to take the technical free throw.
Yeah, and there are 2 things behind it that how much he improved his free throw shooting, and also how much confidence he got because he's improving his body. He added some strength, which lets him to play through the contact, which gives him confidence to play more low post situations, not just shooting 3-pointers or making some mid-range shots. So he's improving really fastly. And okay, although when you watch Wembanyama on social media, we're in this social media and highlights era where you think that when Wembanyama comes, it feels like every play has to be the highlight reel. And then when you watch him play, you see that he's forcing this shot, maybe he's forcing that shot, maybe he's getting exposed in some team defense situations. You see him really having a hard time to catching his breath when he's subbed out for the first time in the first quarter. But as you mentioned, he's 18-year-old kid making his French national team debut with all this hype around, with all this outside noise. And he's leaving the court after 3 quarters with 20 points, 9 rebounds. With him on the floor, French national team outscores Lithuania by 25 points. So this is just incredible. And the best part is that he is just improving so fastly. And what we saw tonight, he will be completely different in month and 2, and he will be just even more enormous, let's say.
I think he only forced like one shot. From what I remember, there was only one sequence where he really took a bad decision offensively. He's playing to his strengths that are his strengths right now. In 5-year time, he might change, but right now he's not going to beat other centers by posting them.
No.
So he's just playing above the rim, doing what he does best.
Yeah. For me, it's just how serious he is. I mean, not even the game starting. You see his warm-up routine. And like Riti said, when you are 18 and all the world is following you and you are the next phenomenon and you are the chosen one, whatever you say. And he just goes through the same warm-up routine, through the same warm-up drills every day. And you could easily be, chill and say, I don't need that. I'm already good. I could skip this. For me, that part stands out. And also, talking about the free throws, Lithuanians actually were trying to push him every time as much as possible because that's the last or remaining weakness of Victor. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, it seemed like the refs are allowing more contact against him because he is just so tall and so big. So like you can push him around and only at the third push, he is getting the foul call just because he's bigger than anybody else. And he's still getting to the line like seven or 8 times during the game. And the moment to remember for me was when I think LBC or someone from French national team was shooting a free. And at the moment of the shot when Wembanyama was standing on the 3-point line, it was after a switch. So the ball is going to the rim and Wembanyama is going to the rim and he just gets offensive rebound immediately. Like he covers 7 meters in basically 1 second. And then with one hand like this, just with the left hand, taps back the offensive rebound, scores 2 points. His size is something next level.
That's what I wanted to ask. Which one was your favorite? Was it the finger roll? Was it the
I have these two.
alley-oop or was it the off the backboard pass to himself? To me, it was the finger roll. It's pretty spectacular because it's not like we haven't seen a player that is 220 before.
Yeah.
We've seen plenty of them, but none of them were really skilled. And when you see a guy that's in a mismatch situation, he gets the ball sort of awkwardly more on his left hand, but then he switches to his right and he just finishes like this with a finger roll. That is spectacular.
And there were like 3 seconds remaining, and usually if it's like 3 seconds remaining, you don't pass the ball into the post because it takes more than 3 seconds to score. But for him, it's just one dribble, and then it's something like that, and you can score. It's
and
incredible.
my second favorite moment was that is dedicated to the whole team, not only to Wemby. When Francisco is driving to the paint, he is throwing the ball to Inglis, and Inglis already knows that he's going to throw the alley-oop to Wembanyama because he's going to be there above the rim. It's just pure basketball. When you have three players connected like this, and just with 2 touches you get an alley-oop and easy points. So these are my favorite moments, but there were some others, obviously. And in the second half, I sort of accepted that Lithuania is going to lose the game. I didn't see actually any chance for us to make a comeback. So I just decided I'm going to enjoy Wembanyama for one more quarter, because in the fourth quarter, he's probably not going to be there on the court, which eventually happened because we got beat by 25.
By the way, alley-oops to yourself in Europe are not it's not in the rule book. You can't really do that.
You mean off the backboard?
Was it
Only.
kind of accidental alley-oop?
but
I don't know if it was
looked like it
accidental.
was-
Look, but if the refs...
Yeah, if the rest didn't call it, then it's okay.
If the refs believe that you were taking a shot and it just didn't hit the rim, then you are allowed to touch the ball again. It's an interesting point, but
I just see him doing this. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but it's not the first time.
it looked like it was on purpose.
So, I mean,
I thought it was on purpose.
if it's on purpose, then it's a travel, right?
In Europe, probably.
In
yes.
Europe, it is. In NBA,
Should be.
In NBA, it is not. That's for sure.
Well, it gives him a huge advantage if he's allowed to do that
Yeah.
all the time. But I think it was written as a missed field goal,
Offensive rebound and
offensive rebound, and then he was fouled.
yeah.
Or did he dunk? I don't remember.
No, he was
was
fouled.
fouled,
He
yeah.
was fouled.
So if we think about it this way, then it's fine. But if it's on purpose, then it should be called.
We'll see how it goes.
He's gonna be in the NBA, so he will be allowed to throw self alley-oops.
And that's just cheat code, you know. Come on.
One of the biggest highlights of Wemby's trip to Lithuania was the way he was handling media. First of all, I'm really grateful from my side that actually France national team made him available, because as we saw in the EuroBasket, Nikola Jokic never showed up in the press conference. We
Donatas.
had Luka Doncic like for 3 times, Giannis only once. So I'm a little bit biased by it.
How long till he gives you the Jokic and Luka treatment?
After first NBA season,
After
probably something like that.
But I hate it because I mean, Giannis, for example, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like we're talking about some arrogant
Yeah, yeah.
superstar that doesn't want to be bothered.
The problem is that
What's up with
sometimes
that?
press officers are these arrogant son of bitches who try to block the presence, or they think that they're helping, protecting the player or something. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the players. But anyway, I mean, French national team, they surprised me that they actually made Wembanyama available already for the pregame comments, and not just like for 2 and 3 questions like in Spain. We have like Sergio Scariolo on Eurobasket before important game in the playoffs, and they say, okay, 2 questions for Sergio Scariolo. You cannot get any good information from 2 questions. So I had Wembanyama for 5 minutes. Okay, I was surprised that there was nobody else from Lithuanian media coming to the practice.
Nobody showed up.
Nobody except from the cameraman from one of the televisions, and that's all. So I was like, I actually prepared like 2 or 3 questions. I mean, when you get that kind of status player available for some short comment, short interview, you know that it's going to be from 2 to 3 minutes, and with some more colleagues, at the best case, you're going to have like 2 or 3 questions. So I kind of prepared it, and I'm like, okay, there's nobody here. Maybe they thought, that the practice will finish later, so that's why they didn't come in yet, but for sure they're going to be here, and nobody was there.
Or bonus shorts.
Yeah, it was kind of, unexpected
You shouldn't
one-on-one.
complain. You had the opportunity to do exclusive content, one-on-one conversation.
but it's different when you kind of prepare for the 5-minute conversation, and when it's different when you have like 2-3 questions prepared. And I was just disappointed in general by our media's approach. We're getting, as I mentioned, the best NBA prospect coming off Europe, and nobody comes to the practice. Maybe because they didn't expect that he's gonna be available, which usually happens. But in the post-game press conference, it happened the same.
Again, links to the fact that it wasn't Panevėžys. If it's in Kaunas or Vilnius, we would have some more media.
But I mean, it's just hour and 15 minutes away from Vilnius. And we have a lot of journalists from Panevėžys, so you can easily organize the weekend trip to your hometown. I mean, I believe that we have journalists from Panevėžys basically from every biggest website in Lithuania. So it wasn't that difficult. It's not like to go to Klaipėda, on a 3-hour drive.
But again, your other colleagues, they go to the game to cover Lithuania, not Wemby, and that's why they are sent
to cover this Lithuanian team. Come on.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter. It's Lithuanian national team, and whether they play in Klaipėda or in Panevėžys, the media will be there during the game. Pre-game, not necessarily. And yeah, probably for some, it was a missed opportunity to speak with Wembanyama and maybe ask some questions. But
anyway, what I wanted to say that I was not kind of surprised. I already watched a lot of his interviews before, but it's really rare to listen to 18-year-old kid putting his ideas and thoughts just in such a thoughtful way. He's not pissed with the questions yet, so he tries to be original. He tries to think about some of the questions. He's very confident. I mean, I really didn't expect that he will say that. Oh, I'm ready. As Shaq mentioned that I want to see the real test of Wembanyama when he's gonna face some very strong bigs of the NBA like Zion, Nikola Jokic, and others. And he said, I was like, okay, he's gonna say something like, I have 1 year to prepare for that challenge, and I'm on my way. No, he said that I'm ready right now. So okay, I was like, okay, and that was not the first confident answer by Wembanyama, but the way he handles the media, the way he tries to be interesting, and you can see there's a lot of education behind that, a lot of IQ behind all of his answers, and it also explains why he's so great at basketball, why he's getting all the information like a sponge and improves practice by practice. So it was my highlight, let's say, of his trip here. So yeah, that's all about Wemby's time in Lithuania. Some like Steph say that he looks like a player from a 2K, but we have some real nice gaming suggestion, which is World of Warships. It's a free historical online combat PC game from Wargaming with its massive fleet of most iconic war vessels, including 5 different ship classes in a strategically designed environment. World of Warships provides the ultimate naval warfare gaming experience suitable for everyone. So thanks to its largest collection of historically accurate ships available to play, World of Warships prides itself as a digital ship museum and a focal point for naval history enthusiasts. New thematic content and innovative game modes are being added on a regular basis, providing diverse and exciting gameplay to its broad player base. So World of Warships is also available on PlayStation and Xbox, and also World of Warships Blitz on iOS and Android mobile devices. You can find the link of the game in our description, and let's continue with basketball. Let's continue with something
basketball.
Anti-basketball. It's still basketball related, but it's probably anti-basketball.
But it's Ergin Ataman playing chess.
And
he denies that.
And it was just one of the moments of this FIBA window. We saw Partizan playing basically with 6 players against Olympiacos. We saw Itudis complaining and playing and being in one place one night and the other another night. I mean, this FIBA window, especially starting with Ataman and Micic story, was just another example how absurd this system is. I mean, how can you have the situation where the head coach of the national team can impact the roster of the rival national team playing one of the most important games for the qualification to the World Cup? And it's just terrible. I mean, in by all means. And I tried to check, I tried to make some research, and that's true that sometimes I know some clear examples where NBA players say that, okay, let's just please make this announcement that club doesn't want somebody to go to the national team. Although the truth is that actually the player wants to get some rest, but he doesn't want to look bad in the in the picture of his basketball fans. From what I understood, Vasilij Micic really wanted to play, really wanted to help Serbia in a tough situation in his group, and there was a mutual feeling that he will be allowed to play, and the denial came at the very end. And
after Turkey played.
I'm not sure about the specific
Okay,
timing,
about the
but I mean,
timing.
it was like few days before he was about to go. He was told that no, it's a no go, and it is actually said there is something like a joke in Istanbul that Ergin Ataman even controls who's available for media or not for one-on-one interviews, for all these interview requests. The same in Turkish national team in Efes. But from what I've heard, it was not just Ataman's call. There's an owner, there's a front office behind it, but of course Ataman's impact on this decision, let's say, was really important.
But it doesn't even really matter. It's Turkish. It's a Turkish team, so obviously they are all the fans of their national team.
Yeah.
So they want them to qualify for the World Cup, and the funny part is, I haven't checked the information, but La Giornata Tipo, the Italian blog that's writing about basketball, said that Bugrahan Tuncer is playing for Turkey today or whenever is the game. Today. And Vasilij Micic, who they are both playing for Anadolu Efes, cannot play. So how... these are two players playing for one team, but one can play today and the other
I wish
is
Shane
not
Larkin
available.
was available. I wish Shane Larkin was not injured. I would love to see the situation where he is joining Turkish national team and Vasilij Micic is not actually.
And don't forget that this is a question if, Giannis Antetokounmpo is in the World Cup, if Nikola Jokic is in the World Cup, if, Alperen Şengün and all the other Turkish NBA players are in this cup. So you're not only talking about Serbia or Greece or Turkey making it, you're talking about one of the biggest international basketball stars that you are involving in this situation.
I just love that Jagodic, Kurica, and Bugrahan Tuncer will decide whether Jokic or Şengün plays in the World Cup.
How good the World Cup will be.
I just love it. Man, we've been talking about this tragedy for a while, but I see that right now everyone erupted. All the coaches are talking. We have EuroLeague coaches working for the national team, so they are being very vocal. We heard Itudi speaking. We've heard even someone like Luka Banki speaking. He's coaching Latvia. Latvia qualified for the first time
They're already
in history for the World Cup. Still, we've heard comments from Luka Banki being very unhappy with this whole basketball situation in Europe. We've heard Gianmarco Pozzecco being very emotional.
Aito Garcia Reneses, who doesn't have anything to do with the national team basketball, he also said that it's bullshit.
So for the first time, everyone's speaking. It's not just us, the media, complaining, not just players complaining in private discussions. It's people speaking publicly, people with authority, coaches, players, other representatives. And it's a good thing that they are speaking. But from FIBA's side, crickets. From EuroLeague side, crickets, silence. And this makes me realize we're living in a world where these organizations, these people care about everyone except the players and the fans. Well, the players and the fans are not really important to the game of basketball. It's about those people with suits that sit in front of a table and discuss some ideas and how are we going to share the budget this year. The players suffer. Even those that arrive to the national teams. This is not normal that Melih Mahmutoglu on Thursday has a career high in EuroLeague, and on Friday he's playing against Belgium. It's not normal. These athletes are being treated like some puppets.
And it's not just the problem is with the EuroLeague, because many people would say, especially from FIBA, if EuroLeague would make this window free for us, so all the EuroLeague players would be fresh, they could help the team. But come on, I mean, we're still missing the best players, and they play in NBA. Nobody's questioning the NBA, and I completely agree with Dimitris Sotoudis that everybody's making a pressure to the EuroLeague. But I mean, you cannot imagine the Eurobasket without Luka Doncic, Giannis, Jokic even Lauri Markkanen. I mean, who made this
Franz
bronze medal
Wagner,
for Germany? Wagner,
Dennis
Schroeder.
Schroeder, many
I mean,
names.
so we cannot exclude them from this as well, because as I mentioned, some other guys they're deciding if Giannis, if Jokic, if Doncic will be in the
Can you imagine
main competition.
For example, can you imagine that some average low-key players would be fighting for Lionel Messi to play in the World Cup? Like now, Argentina is playing.
Argentina would be in a riot.
They're playing the most important game of the qualification, but they don't have their best players. So now some average local league players will decide whether Messi plays in the World Cup or not. This is what we have in basketball. We're talking about Giannis, like the best player in the world right now. I agree with this opinion to the most part, and he doesn't have any influence on what happens in these qualifications, except from that one window that happened before the Eurobasket when they played against Serbia, which was an awesome game of basketball. I wish we would have more games like that. So it's terrible, and the idea that everything will be fixed with EuroLeague players is not fair, because we have teams that depend on their NBA stars so much. For example, if you bring EuroLeague players to the qualifiers, some teams are improving, but then it's bigger trouble for Slovenia.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
Latvia is not also qualified yet because,
Yeah.
Porzingis and
Yeah, so Slovenia, they don't have too many EuroLeague players. So other teams add, for example, their rivals, Serbia,
Mhm.
Turkey, Germany, whatever, they start adding EuroLeague players. What do Slovenia add?
Yeah.
Nothing. They have more or less the same roster, and they're without Luka. Luka is like 50% of the team.
No, 50.
I'm being generous to the other guys.
Very respectful.
So come on, either we have the best players or we don't have the system at all. And I was speaking with some people from FIBA in 2017 during the Eurobasket in Tel Aviv. We had this like round table discussion with the media. And their idea was that the fans deserve to see national team during the season. This is why we're going to have these windows, because the national team is more important than the club. Speak with Lithuanian people. Is this national team that played in Panevėžys more important than Žalgiris right now?
Yeah, they could have 2 games in Kaunas, one in Kaunas Sports Hall and one in Žalgirio Arena, and put the EuroLeague game also at the same time.
Stop pretending. Stop pretending that this is for the fans.
They also said that they're gonna grow the level of this mid-level basketball players pool, but players won't get better by 2 games playing in FIBA windows. And they're so happy that they're growing all these smaller basketball countries with this basketball system. But again, it goes under the unfair rules that you're putting for the whole team. So I just really don't get it. I mean, it would be great to see Giannis and Antetokounmpo playing in Greece in November. It would be just amazing. But if he's not there, I mean,
it's not possible.
Just pointless.
Because it's not possible because there is NBA. So.
And nobody's questioning the NBA.
And with this window, there was, to me it seemed like FIBA and the EuroLeague were trying to get along because Sergio Scariolo, like Virtus Olympia game was played earlier, so Scariolo could be there on Friday. Some other games were changing times, or just so some players could be, some EuroLeague players or coaches can be in some of the games, or at least 50% of these 2 games. But as you can see now from this Turkey-Serbia situation, you thought that it's going to make the situation more fair, and instead what you are getting is the situation is even more unfair when you are having this dialogue. So it just tells that there is no middle point of dialogue here. You either have to do it like this, continue doing like you did before with no EuroLeague and NBA players, or you have to just cancel these windows.
But so far there are any indications that this format could be changed. So that's another painful part of the conversation.
Wait until there is no Nikola Jokic or Giannis in one World Cup, and then you might see the changes because FIBA is FIBA wants to have all the best players in your competition, and if you don't have them, your competition level of your competition goes down.
Yeah, and we already had a tournament without Luka Doncic, without Kristaps Porzingis, and you can imagine. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis by that time was a huge player, and I mean, we already had this already.
I could
turnover
compare these FIBA windows to like fake merchandise you can buy on some markets. Like you have fake Nikes and fake Adidas. So in the FIBA windows, you have fake Serbia, fake Greece, fake Lithuania, fake teams. Like these are big teams. You know that Spain, they're European champions. Lithuania has so many medals. Serbia with all these accolades. And these are big names. But then you click on the roster. Whoa. Who's this dude? Where's he from? Oh, he's making his national team debut at the age of 33. Nice. Good for him.
Even this Wembanyama's debut with the national team, it's not the same if he was playing next to Rudy
For sure.
Gobert, Evan
And
Fournier.
it's just
a fake
It's just
debut.
a coincidence that Wemby is not yet in the NBA, and this season he decided to not play in the EuroLeague, so he became available. Vincent Collier convinced him that it's the right time for you to play in the national team. And FIBA, obviously, they are so happy. They're blessed. Oh my God, Wembanyama is going to play, and we're going to have all the coverage.
And even these EuroLeague players and these teams, they made some compromises to make players available just because many of these big countries, they had their asses burning because of the standing situation. So that's why they just started to make some moves to make them available. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Nothing to add, probably. We just all
EuroLeague?
wait to somehow to this nightmare to be end. Yeah, EuroLeague. We still have some nightmares in the EuroLeague, right?
Yeah, talking about nightmares.
Which one do you want to start with?
Ritis texted me after the game. He was commenting on the Lithuanian TV. It was like, the worst 2 hours of the week was Olimpia Milano Virtus game.
Oh
I was watching. Ritis had to commentate the game, so
This was so bad,
like, oh
man.
my
It
God.
was so bad. I don't know
What
what
were
to
your
say.
lowlights of the game?
I don't know, the 40
minutes.
The 40 minutes. I don't know, man. This, fuck. I don't know what to say. I was kind of excited before the game. I did think that it's not going to be pretty because of how they play. It's going to be a defensive-minded game with a limited number of possessions. Blah blah blah. But okay, you can have a low-scoring game with quality.
oh, come on.
Not the case in Milan, man.
Brutal.
The only highlight I would say is that Milos Teodosic managed to hit some crazy shots and basically he led Virtus eventually. But both teams on that night would have lost against the other 16 clubs in the EuroLeague.
I mean, Virtus had at least, somewhat strong defense. I
Yeah.
like their performance defensively.
fair enough,
You could
fair
say
enough.
that this was the highlight of the game, Virtus' defensive performance.
Man, but Milan,
But Milan is just
it looks like somebody sucked out all the confidence from Devon Hall.
not only him.
Not
Kevin
only him,
Pangos.
but
Melli is not shooting the basketball. I don't know why.
players are hesitating to shoot. They're lacking confidence. They're not making quick decisions. They're always doubting themselves. I don't know why this is happening with Milan.
I mean, when we're talking about the confidence, in many cases, it actually starts from the head coach. I mean, if the player, if he's afraid to be subbed after one mistake, whether it's a bad shot, whether it's some turnover, there are some coaches, like, for example, Šarūnas Jasikevičius, they don't afford you to make mistakes.
But nobody's subbing Devon Hall. Like he was playing all the second half.
He plays most minutes on Milan roster
And
this season.
His percentages coming into this game were like 2 and 3 point percentages were lower than 20, both.
But I mean, in some cases, really, this lack of confidence starts from the head coaches.
for sure.
So I mean,
But I don't think that's the case with Milan.
I think that it might be one of the reasons. It cannot be just the main reason that Ettore Messina is some
Like
tyrant or something.
they are on catch and shoot field goals. They are 11 for 41 in
That's
EuroLeague
terrible.
on catch and shoot in 3 home games. In 3
Terrible.
home games, they are 11 for 41 on catch and shoot. Catch and shoot is like the shot you are looking at. If you are in, the offense, you are looking for a catch and shoot 3 nowadays because it's probably one of the most coveted shots in basketball right
And
now.
it's not like they don't have shooters.
No,
I'll give them that. They're playing without Billy Barron, Siobhan Shields,
it's hard.
Gigi
because-
Datome. Yeah, it's hard. But still, this is a group of veterans. We're not talking about a young team. You can expect some rookies to have slumps and be inconsistent and have these nights. This is a veteran team. I don't get it. Why it's so bad? Like, I'm not talking about the standings. You can be 3-4 in the EuroLeague. It's fine. The EuroLeague is very tough. But the performances, especially at home in Mediolanum, are just miserable so far.
Let me plug in my article that I did
Oh yeah,
for
you did a
BN
great
Plus,
breakdown on BN
dude.
Plus.
but you can read it on BN Plus about, I tried to dissect why Milan is playing such terrible offensively. You can read it only if you are subscribed to our Plus platform. And for me, it was just, also too many extra passes. Did you notice that? Like, we are talking about why they don't have enough confidence. Players are hesitant to shoot. Like, sometimes they're trying to play San Antonio way because it's Ettore Messina there, and he's trying to instill that one more pass, try to look for a great shot instead of a good shot. And players are just passing 1, 2, 3 times too much. And Virtus and especially Scariolo teams are really good at flying around the court and closing out hard. So after 2 extra passes, you just don't have advantage anymore. And then Deshaun Thomas has to shoot a contested catch and shoot last second 3-pointer, which obviously, he misses. So for me, it's I lack, from what I see, Milano lacks creativity for me. They are not scoring any easy points at all. After timeouts, I don't know the exact stats, how they are ranked in the league. Maybe you can check really fast right now. But there is no easy points to get the team going, And there is always the same middle pick and roll or middle pick and pop with Melli. And then it's read and react. But if you are not confident enough and you don't have Chacho Rodriguez, who is so creative and can score in a variety of ways, nothing happens. And then they're forcing shots late in the end of shot clock. So
yeah, the system that they're playing is very dependent on the playmakers. Like,
it's really dependent on individual skill and creativity.
So
basically,
the best season with Messina, with this system, with this idea, was when they had Punter as a scorer, they had healthy Malcolm Delaney, and they had healthy Chacho Rodriguez,
who can just score in bunches, have these 5-minute sparks, crazy runs.
Because defensively, they're fine right now. You cannot say they have problems with defense.
No.
But Kevin Pangos is not as sharp as he was playing for Xavi Pascual a couple of years ago. Devon Hall has some issues. Billy Barron is hurt. Siobhan Shields is out.
And these two are
Who's
huge.
going to create?
These two are huge because Shields is really good in these read and react situations because he is just so good individually. And Billy Barron, I saw a lot of sets that when he's on the court, Messina runs a lot of offense through him.
Yeah.
And now that he's not here, it's always, Kevin Pangos, middle pick and roll, and you're just stuck in there.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Thomas can buy a shot in the post-up situations. Melli is hesitant to shoot. Brandon Davies also still doesn't seem like the good old Brandon Davies.
And let me remind you that after the first quarter, Milan was leading 23-12. It's not like Virtus is the sharpest tool in the shed. But all of a sudden, Milos started hitting really difficult shots, especially the buzzer beater at the end of the second quarter. He finished 5 from 6. He hit the dagger in the fourth quarter that actually closed the game.
Yeah.
And Virtus did find some transition points, some easy points, with Shengelia having some good moments in the game. They were not spectacular. They were far from that, but they were better at least in this game. And actually, this was the second Italian derby this season because the first one was in the Super Cup semifinal. It was the same.
The same
59-59. It went to the overtime.
These two are the worst matches of basketball I watched this season.
The last time Virtus and Armani met, Olympia Milano, I should say, met in Europe was 25 years ago. I believe it was in 1997.
Yeah.
So now in 2022, they decided to play some 1997 basketball.
Yeah, Milan is ninth by points after timeouts per possession, and they're also in unguarded shots, creating unguarded shots. They're sixth, which is kind of good.
But they're missing them.
But the problem is that
Against
they're
Real
missing
Madrid, they made all the impossible and hard shots in the first half, and they missed all the open shots in the second half.
Exactly, yeah. And that was a very good point by you about overpassing, because we're always praising the extra pass, but not every time the extra pass is needed. So overpassing can become a problem if you have a habit of not looking to the rim, not being aggressive, but always thinking about who's in the corner so I could swing the ball to him. And I agree with you that this was at least a problem in this game.
Yeah,
I want to see how it go. How Messina is trying to solve this situation, because it's been 7 games, and already last season they were 15th in offensive rating. So you need to score at least some if you want to win games. You can't expect to keep every opponent at 60-point mark. They're scoring at this rate right now.
Probably the only reaction might be the signing somebody to replace Shawan Shields, because one of the main excuses he can have is, I'm missing my top scorer of the team who can.
But I don't think there's a player on the market that is gonna step in that locker room and fix all the problems in 1 week. I don't.
You still need Devon Hall. You still need Nicola Melli to deliver.
They have to start playing. Kevin Pangos needs to be better.
Kevin Pangos and the mistakes he did in this game, it was one of the kind. I mean, it really felt like somebody just sucked up all the talent. I remember I was just reading the Lamar Odom's book recently, and he said that after Coma, when he tried to play in this big free league, when he just stepped on the court, he felt that he lost all of his talents, all of his skills. He couldn't dribble the ball the way he was, probably because of some consequences he had. So it looked like Pangos had some kind of coma in that game because the guy just couldn't dribble the ball. But actually, when I thought about Kevin Pangos and his success in the EuroLeague, we can remember that he became all EuroLeague first or second team player in Žalgiris after one first really tough season for him in Kaunas, where many people actually questioned if he's the EuroLeague level point guard. Okay, he blossomed in the second year, but then he went to Barcelona and he didn't have a good time over there. In Zenit, he kind of become that kind of point guard that you might think that, he's a game changer for any EuroLeague team. Says kind sign him. What an amazing signing! Now he will the championship for you. But when you look at his season, even his season in Zenit, the first 10 games they were not easy at all. He had some horrible nights, and at least 33% of these games were tough. So it's not like Kevin Pangos. We might idolize him too much that he might solve all the problems and now he will make Milan Final Four team for sure. He's also the player who requires some kind of adjustments, some kind of systems like Xavi Pascal found him in his zone, let's say.
I just miss Chacho Rodriguez there. Man, it was so nice to see him with Milano jersey. Just came off the bench. You know that for the next 7 minutes your offenses will be fine.
But they still ended up as the 15th team by the offensive rating last year.
Yeah, but, he wasn't playing. He was playing like 23 minutes, I would guess, right now. On average, he wasn't starting even, so...
Well, he's 36 now.
Yeah.
For him, it's probably a good move to go back to Madrid, where he will not be the one who carries the whole team. He will just be a solid veteran who helps the team.
And still have the same chances to win...
Exactly.
In EuroLeague.
Exactly.
If Messina was coaching in Belgrade, was he already fired in Red Star?
3 or 4? I don't think so.
It's hard to compare a big budget team like Milan and a small budget team like Zvezda.
I think that the main difference we sometimes might forget is that Zvezda, they don't have the A license. They're not sure if they're going to stay in the EuroLeague. So sometimes...
they need to win the ABA League, right?
ABA League. And from what I remember, it's not like guaranteed that you're gonna play there. At least it gives you some kind of advantage to get a wild card, but it's not like a lock for the EuroLeague. So they might be quicker with some decisions. They cannot be as patient as Alba, Žalgiris, or any other club, because if they see that the train is going off the track, I mean, they need some moves to fix the situation, because in the end of the season, these losses against Zadar in ABA League might count a lot. So there is some argument behind this move, but still, I think that it was just too early. Okay, they like won 6 at the start of the EuroLeague season, but when you look at their schedule, they played only 2 home games, and they won one of these home games against Bayern. Okay, they lost to Panathinaikos, and it's a bad result considering that they are also having a tough season. But other than that, they lost to really nice teams. Even the last game against Fenerbahce, I think that Red Star, they were competitive enough in that game because Fenerbahce is playing just amazing basketball. It was a pure joy to watch them sharing the ball. In some situations, they're making extra passes, but these extra passes led them in situations where actually they lead the EuroLeague by unguarded field goal shooting. So,
well, I think Fenerbahce against Zvezda, they were pretty bad by their standards.
By their standards.
Especially in the first half. In the second half, they got better. They found Melih Mahmutoglu, who became the prolific scorer in this game, actually, and he took all the minutes away from Carson Edwards.
Last 2 games, he has been dominant.
Yep, and Carson Edwards didn't play a single minute. But yeah, Zvezda, well, they did what they can. They had a very short rotation because of injuries. Everything was put on Vildosa and Nedovic, and they had some help from the big guys, Bentil, Petrushev, Kuzmic, and firing the head coach. I mean, I could see that happening. I thought that probably Vladimir Jovanovic is going to be one of the coaches to be replaced during the season. But then at the same time, I just don't get it. Why would you even start with a young, inexperienced coach if you don't put any trust to him? Like,
if your trust finishes after 7 games.
What do you expect? Like, a young head coach is going to start doing miracles from the beginning of the season with this roster? He started the season without Nedovic. Vildosa only arrived during the season. They had a bad signing, an unsuccessful signing, let's say, with, what was his name? Jalen Adams?
Yeah,
Jalen Adams.
He's kind of, you're supposed to be a main point guard.
You cannot put all these losses down simply to the coach. Okay, now you're going for experience. Duško Ivanovic. Why didn't you hire Duško from the beginning? Why would you even start with a 38-year-old head coach with that barely any experience at this level?
And it's not the first time when they're firing the young coach. You can remember Dusan Olimpijevich also had this experience in Red Star. But it feels like Red Star, they're always trying to find some young next genius, but they end up finishing the season with Dusan Šakota, Duško Ivanovic, some other very experienced head coach. And the problem is that, from what I've heard about Vlado Ivanovic, is that there was already a feeling that he is on a hot seat and that he might be fired after the following game, like a few weeks ago. So they lost the trust very early. So it means that probably one of the reasons is that maybe there was no connection between the front office, the GM, and the head coach, or the head coach just couldn't handle this EuroLeague rookie experience or couldn't handle the locker room. But it's really surprising that they made this move so early.
I'm an advocate of patience and not changing the head coach so early into the season. But if they started really, as you say, Donatas, they started to, these rumors started even a couple of games before. For me, it could be only one thing. Like, the coach didn't want the confidence in the locker room. To me, it could be only one thing. And I could kind of see it, on the court. It's hard to see because it might be players, just tendencies to relax on defense, or, not executing the set plays until the end. These could be, on the coach, or it could also be player tendencies. But I don't know what Crvena Zvezda expects from their results. We know they're not the most rich team in the EuroLeague. So what results are you expecting? I know 1-6 sounds bad, but you've changed a lot of players. You had Nemanja Nedovic, one of your most important players, injured. What would have been a result that would have kept the job for Jovanovic? 3-4, but you have played a lot of games away also. So
Didn't look possible to have 3-4, seeing their schedule. Basically, firing the coach in this situation is like admitting your own mistake. To me, it's not about Vlada Jovanovic doing something wrong. To me, it's about Zvezda, the management, admitting that they made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because how else should I see this? They hired a rookie coach. They trusted him. They built a new team. They've changed a lot of players from last season. And now in November, they're firing the head coach and they're bringing in someone with a lot of experience, like Duško Ivanovic. So this is Zvezda's management saying, we messed up. Duško, please fix this.
Yeah.
And I wish Vladimir Jovanovic good luck in his career. Like Dusan Olimpijevic, for example, is now having a pretty solid career. So I hope Vlada Jovanovic will have at least some success in the future. And what happened here it probably would have happened with any other coach.
Yeah, and they're 15th by the offensive rating. They're also 15th by the defensive rating. And we all know Duško Ivanovic being this defensive-minded head coach. Do you think that this roster really fits Ivanovic and his coaching?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about Jovanovic. I don't have any idea about his philosophy, the way he sees the game. Duško Ivanovic, he's going to put emphasis on discipline, of course. He wants to control his players.
You will not see Luka Vildoza walking around on defense, or
probably not. Did he coach Vildoza in Baskonia before he left?
So
I think so, yeah.
I mean, he was in Baskonia so many times. These two,
yeah, right,
should have met before.
So, and when you're talking about these defensive, offensive ratings, and in Zvezda's case, it's not like they have 15th offensive rating because of bad coaching. It's just because of their roster. What can you expect?
Yeah.
I believe that with Nedovic and Vildoza, you have certain qualities and you can win some games.
They should, their offensive rating should grow, I think, in my eyes.
At least a little bit.
Because Nedovic hasn't played for all the games.
Yeah.
But defensively, I don't see this, at least their starting lineup being...
It's hard because they're playing with centers like Petrushev, and now Kuzmic also played. So you will have problems with pick and roll defense if you play with them. And Hassan Martin is only covering some limited minutes. You need Bentil at the 4.
Even though last year Kuzmic, with Radonjic there, they were like, to my eyes, they were good defensively with him.
But their best defensive unit was with Mitrovic at 5, right? And now you have these two bigs, Petrushev and Kuzmic, against Fener because you were short of options. They actually played in the same lineup. Petrushev played as a 4. So offensively, it's fine. It will give you some second chance points and post-ups. But defensively, it will be a struggle.
Vildoza, Nedovic, and Petrushev, it's not a recipe for a good, let's say, good defense. It's hard to...
Probably not. We'll see what Duško is capable of doing with this team. And we've heard the comments from Igor Akošević saying that Duško is the right man for the job.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
What is his, this is a thought probably not for the pod, but what is his record when coming in as a replacement coach?
I don't know.
Because last 2 times he was entering Baskonia and they didn't do that well.
I'm just thinking, didn't he win the Spanish league, the COVID Spanish league?
Yeah,
when he joined the team in the middle of the season. But still, it was
that was a single elimination final 8 or something like that.
Well, I
more
think
or less
his first 2 spells in Vitoria were kind of good. Some of the seasons were great. They went to the Final Four in 2005. He was coaching there for 5 years. Then he came back after Barcelona in 2008. And from that point, sort of went downhill. Nothing special in Panathinaikos. Nothing special with Khimki, Besiktas, a FIBA Champions League team. They didn't do nothing. And then these 2 years in Baskonia were probably saved by this pandemic title, I would say. But in EuroLeague, they didn't make the playoffs. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe
They didn't make the playoffs, but they had a winning record at least, 18-16.
Yeah, that was one season where they finished strongly in the second half of the regular season. I do remember that.
Yeah, so we're not sure if.
But it's a funny thing that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's a funny thing that last year, Duško Ivanovic was fired on November 15th.
Now
This
he's coming
year,
in.
on November 14th or 13th,
13th.
he's announced as the new head coach of Crvena Zvezda. So basically, exactly a year after being fired, now he's replacing his colleague that was fired.
Let's
Yeah.
go to the last part.
Yeah, the last part is related to some big money in Europe. We just published, not just, 2 weeks ago, we published the highest paid EuroLeague players list. Top 15. What would be your, and you can find this article on BasketNews.com. What would be just your first general reactions? There might be some underpaid, there might be some overpaid players. I remember you made fun of some Virtus contracts right before the pod.
I mean, Marco Bellinelli is making the big bucks.
1.7 million euros.
We have to mention that this is the last year of his 3-year contract he signed with Virtus, so it was connected to the fact that Virtus tried to go to the EuroLeague through the Euro Cup. Bellinelli was just coming back from the NBA, so it's they kind of have to go through this painful experience right now because of timing.
It was impossible to sign him without these 1.7 million a year.
Yeah, probably. The same as with Milos Teodosic, he gets around 1.6, which is also a big amount of money.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not too surprised about anything. Well, Fenerbahce really paid Scotty Wilbekin, making him top 4 highest paid player in the league, more than Mike James or Will Clyburn. But most of these salaries probably make sense according to the roles that these players have in their teams. Obviously, Barca signed Satoransky and Vesely to be key players. They're still not probably 100%, that they need more time. But, well, Barca's paying Vesely and Satoransky 3.5 million as replacements for Davis and Kalaitis. So everything kind of works out.
I don't know. It's just Mike James at 2. While Nicola Melli is making 2 million, Nick Kalaitis is making 2 million, Will Clyburn making 2 million.
Are these like salaries after taxes?
Yes,
guess so.
Yes, after taxes. And it's different. It's different to get 2 million in Monaco, and it's different to get paid by 2 million in Spain, for example. And especially when Mike James played in Spain already, he's treated by a different tax system, which means that for Barca, for Real Madrid, they would need to spend around 4 million euros. Monaco can spend way less for this signing. And it's also, for example, there is Satoransky and Vesely. They're getting around the same amount of money, 1.8, 1.7. But the thing is that Barca spends on Satoransky way more because he played in Spain already 7 years. Vesely is rookie in Spain, and the taxation for Vesely is just around 15 or 18%. Of the contracts, and then for Satoransky, the taxation rate goes to around 50%. Okay. So he's Vesely is way cheaper player for Barca than Satoransky. So there are these nuances, let's say, which also kind of makes a big impact on this list. The same with Wilbekin. He gets 2.4 because he's playing in Turkey. In Barca was also after him. I really believe that they couldn't afford, paying 2.4 net because the full gross contract was just too big for them. So this is really a difficult thing in Europe, this taxation thing. But let's play this game. We have 5 million euros, and we can sign as many players as we want. And we have to take into account 5 million euros because we have Nikola Mirotic as the best paid player in the EuroLeague, and he gets around 5 million euros. Who would you sign? Which players would you sign, or you just would go all in with Mirotic?
So you
Probably
can,
not.
you can have Mirotic alone or Satoransky, Bellinelli, and Shengelia in your team already, right?
5 million. I think we should have
Just to start the team, you know.
should have at least 6 million so we could sign 3 players. But with 5, I still have to go with 2 players. I go with Will Clyburn
And Mike James.
and I save 1 million euros.
For Kyle Hines, for example, because I think he gets something like that.
Yeah, for somebody.
That was so easy.
It's really not
Like-
worth it in Europe to spend so much money on one player. It's not like you bring Cristiano Ronaldo and you know that you're gonna get the money back from ticketing, from merchandise, from everything. No, it's not.
You mentioned the wrong
You're just
guy.
losing a lot
At the
of money.
moment,
At
it was
the
the worst
moment.
example possible.
I'm just thinking about the hype Cristiano Ronaldo
No,
created.
no, no,
I'm just
no,
saying
don't-
that
you don't know.
it's a very bad time.
You don't know what happened yesterday.
The worst timing.
My last football memory comes to the moment where Cristiano Ronaldo was really great. So that was the idea of Mirotic. There was no way to
I'm
bring
not
him to Europe.
discussing his greatness. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that literally yesterday there was an interview with Piers Morgan where Cristiano Ronaldo went out against Manchester
actually read that
United.
interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
What happened in football field that he came out with this interview?
Basically, Manchester doesn't want him to play anymore. He's not in the starting lineup because he is not the right player for the system, and he's not that great
it's
anymore.
just not part of the project.
So
Yeah.
he's Milos Teodosic of Manchester United at the moment or even
There are
worse?
too many things to
Yeah.
explain in this situation. I think there,
He wants out, and Manchester keeps him, but he's not playing.
and at the same
Okay.
time you want out, but there's no one that can afford you. So like there are no clubs that can actually sign you.
Okay.
It happened in the summer. He didn't leave in the summer, so it's complicated. I cannot compare this to any basketball situation. Like
Mm.
I don't know if Shara starts benching Mirotic and Mirotic goes to Catalan radio to give an interview about Shara's being the worst coach and Barca being a bad club. I should have never left Madrid. Maybe, but still on a lower scale.
Or Charas doesn't play Mirotic for the whole game, and then with 1 minute and the result being plus 15
in the
says,
trash minutes.
"Hey Miro,
You're in.
brother."
Your time.
You're in,
And-
and Miro goes straight to the locker room.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that's what happened. You know?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
did happen on one occasion. But also, part of the problem is 37-year-old superstar not being able to accept that he's not as good as he once was. So
What would be the analogy in EuroLeague?
Milos Teodosic then? Probably, I don't know.
He's still winning games. Some of them.
Now it's a bad timing to talk about his limits when he kind of won the game
Ah,
for Virtus.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's anything to compare. But
Okay, so you would take
I
Mike
take
James.
Mike James with Clive.
I mean, I was looking at this list, and it was so obvious you are going to take these two.
They're friends.
They're friends, yeah. So
And they've played together already. They have a certain bond. So
Donatas, what do you have?
My list would be kind of the same, really, because you just save money. They're cheap by the standards, and you're getting extra third guy on your
Yeah.
team, and you're covering all the positions with ball handler, with forward, and with center, as Kyle Hine is, for example. So there's no way I'm paying for Mirotic or even Shane Larkin, as great as he is, because there are so many good alternatives with even Wilbekin, Mike James. Probably there's Sasha Vezenkov somewhere below
to
this
the
list. So I mean,
Underpaid.
you can just get Vasily
Underpaid.
Micic and Sasha Vezenkov, for
So
example.
Sasha
at the
is
price of
underpaid,
Mirotic.
but probably his next contract should be more adequate.
But he just signed a 3-year contract last year, I think, right?
Really?
So that was a bad timing for that long-term contract.
Well, maybe he just loves Olympiacos.
And Olympiacos definitely loves him. Okay, there was a contract extension last year, 3 years, for about 2.7 million euros for all 3 years.
What?
Wow. How much? That's a steal.
Wait.
2.7.
You mean
For 3 years?
Vezenkov is not getting €1 million per year?
So Tornike Shingeli is making almost twice than Vezenkov.
According to Gazeta, the agreement between the two sides essentially includes an extension of the existing one and a total salary of about €2.7 for 3 years, starting this season.
So I'm taking Kostas Lukas, Walter Tavares, and Sasha Vezenkov.
Oh my God. What? It's like Žalgiris could afford him at this rate.
It's like
Just
Ignas
don't
Brazdeikis
sign
salary.
Brazdeikis, add some money.
Oh my God.
I mean, Mike James doesn't do discounts on his services, and Vezenkov does a 50% discount to Olympiacos.
They have to renegotiate this contract.
Man.
Wow.
Maybe he goes to the NBA right now and he will get paid over there.
Yeah.
What do you think about his NBA potential?
I would love to see him there. I mean,
We all would, but I mean,
I think, defensively he would be a target, but offensively in the regular season, he would be such player that could elevate your team's level because he would be much more energetic than anyone else on the court, just by his running.
And also he can score every time he can score, whether it's a spot-up shot, a cut, baseline cut, any situation he can score. Probably in the NBA, he would be seen as a small forward, I guess. I would like to see that. Maybe he had an opportunity already to go last summer. I'm not sure.
There were some talks about him and the Kings, but
yeah, they just didn't hit the button.
I mean, if Nemanja Bjelica made a name for himself in the NBA, I don't see why Sasha couldn't. Of course, Nemanja left the EuroLeague as the MVP. And who knows?
He might follow his path.
I'm just
He
saying
might follow
this
his
might
path.
happen.
That's all, folks, right?
Yep.
Thanks
That's
a lot
all,
for watching. One quick reminder, follow us on BasketNews.com and also please subscribe our channel and press like button because it's really important. And of course, join our BN Plus community on BasketNews.com/plus. You will find all the links on the description, including this highest paid EuroLeague players list, to curse or to, make yourself happy with some of the salaries these players are getting. Probably Olympiacos fans, they're really happy with Sasha Vezenkov contract. So anyway, see you next week. This week I'm going to Istanbul to watch one amazing game, FS Barca, and one Fenerbahce and Panathinaikos experience. So we'll see how that goes.
not so bad.
Not that bad, yeah. Panathinaikos just won the game against the stopped hot Baskonia team. They scored almost 100 points. So we'll see where it goes, actually. A lot of EuroLeague action and a lot of things to be discussed next week. See you.